Hello, everybody. Wow, October 23, 2024, 13 more days. It's the countdown to election time. Max Maximus, how are you? Hi, good to see you. Yeah. Oh, man, oh man. Max is up there in the Appalachian Mountains of North Carolina. He got affected. So that's why I'm asking, how are you specifically? Hello, Alicia DeMoss and Crazy Pots, Tony Punch, Andrew Cruz, Julio, Rage Against the Machine. U.S. discovered world's largest lithium deposits in Arkansas, claiming an estimated 19 million tons of lithium. What's going to be happening to Arkansas? Yeah. Same precise area of New Madrid fault line where they're running simulated 10 on the Richter scale earthquake drills. Jane Northrup, Bluesman Sonny, Fournier Hay, James B., Sandra, Louisiana Skywatch, Patricia White, hi, Rick Yorkin, Etna, hello. Is it Etna or is it Etna? Etna? Oh, I'm so bad with names. I don't know why. Pabsawake? Pabsawake. Okay. Hi, Miss Blanche, BMCC, Jake M, Christopher, James. Everyone thought Arkansas was the perfect bug out location. Nah, no, I never did. Denise Martinez, hi, and the Watchman. So I have quite a bit for you. Yeah, Silent Walk, hi. Good to see you. So let's just take a look at radar. And another quiet night. What is happening? What's happening? Have the weather terrorists gone on vacation? But we do still have our, blips of what? Nanotechnology looking like precipitation. I said it last night. I'll say it again. This seems to be a constant now, right along the coast, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia into Florida. Oh boy. Well, just wanted to check out there are no severe weather alerts until, which I find interesting, until midnight, well, actually 6 a.m., November 5th. What day is that? Election day. So it starts, and there's some, light snow and heavy snow for a little bit of time in the California mountains. But look what happens right here. This very defined line of precipitation, a weather front, getting heavier rain in the panhandle of Oklahoma, just one little strip into Kansas, then Nebraska, as you can see. Oh, wow. 6 a.m., November 5. You have severe weather in the panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma. We've got some nice sleet happening in Nebraska, South Dakota, right here, and snow in Wyoming. That's not unusual. But yeah, more severe weather, November 5, noontime. Look at this. So you guys in Texas, Oklahoma, panhandle of Oklahoma, and the northwest corner of Texas, right smack through central Kansas and then into Nebraska. That's not looking pretty at all. Then it begins to die off, 6 p.m., November 5. Still some heavy rain, midnight, November 6. And that is northern Kansas up through Nebraska. Okay, I find that date interesting to have severe weather again. All right. Yeah, it's quite a show we're watching, right? Well, it's hardly a show. But it does feel like it because everything is orchestrated, as we all know, right? Right. So, flooding in the UK, Hurricane Kirk hits Ireland. Hurricanes hitting Ireland?
What? 70 miles per hour winds and torrential rain hitting the UK.
Okay. You see it? Do you see it? It's all bubbling up from below. Oh, so much rain. Storm drains couldn't handle it. It's coming out. I do believe that this is one of the methods that they are creating an awful lot of flooding, that an awful lot of people are having to suffer the consequences of reversing the storm drains, closing them off or reversing them.
Okay. Hurricane Kirk hits Ireland this weekend as multiple weather warnings come into force at midnight on Friday.
Midnight.
With Kerry, Waterford, and Cork likely to see huge amounts of rainfall.
So, not as bad as North Carolina, or how about Roswell, New Mexico, or how about Vancouver, yeah, Canada, the most recent hotspots of massive flooding. But still, people are affected by this flooding. And storms, yeah, you're not seeing the 4 feet, you're not seeing the cars flooding down the street, floating down the street, but you do see businesses are being affected. North Carolina's mountain community still reeling from Helene. And I will tell you that my having tried to cover as much as I possibly could all of the weather events, the fires, the flooding, the tornadoes. Yeah, you don't recover from this overnight or a week. And when it impacts whole communities that are taken out, It takes years. It takes years to build back those communities.
Now is Evangeline Monroe, who lives in Black Mountain, North Carolina, one of the communities devastated by that storm. Evangeline, thank you so much for your time. What's the situation like on the ground right now compared to just after the storm?
So within our community right here in the top of Black Mountain, we have had so much support from people within the community coming together, neighbors helping neighbors. There was about 100 of us locked in up here, and we were able to create a new road and access point out. That is how we were able to get supplies up. We had airdrops coming in on helicopter and people evacuated via helicopter. We were essentially locked out for several weeks. Now we have that access road and we're beginning to see what lies below us. But all that help came from within our community. We had to raise funds on our own to get the roads built and do all the work. We called out NCDOT, they could not help us. We asked for equipment, nobody could bring us that. So we as a community banded together to make this happen. And that's how we're able to get out. And the people that found us, like Jordan, the air pilot that dropped in supplies to us and took out people that were in need. The helicopter pilot that flew out a pregnant woman who was in labor and had a breech baby and got her to safety. I mean, it was all civilian people coming to help us. And the outpouring of love and support and donations and everything has been huge for us. It's about our community helping each other. And just right down in Black Mountain, we have the rail yard and we have the red truck men who are still working on getting to people who are still trapped. There is so much machinery needed. We need help out here. Burnsville needs help. They have people that haven't been reached for 22 days. There's people still needing food. There's people needing water. There's people that are homeless now that are living in tents and the temperatures are freezing. So we have a lot of needs still, and we really, like, warm tents would be amazing. All the heating supplies and just everybody that has machines that are willing to donate their time and energy. There's just a lot that still needs to be handled.
Yeah, still so much need there. 22 days later, as you said, and the community has been so important to this process of recovery because we know it is absolutely a process. Evangeline, the former president, we heard from him at the top of this. He's visiting parts of your state today. Do you think that makes a difference to people there?
Yes, I think it makes a huge difference. I actually sent him a personal email if he could look at it through TikTok, and TikTok has been a lifesaver for us. And I'm happy to hear what he says, that he wants to rebuild, because that's our mission here. We all want to help rebuild, and we want to see this being built better than ever. We're not leaving here. We're not leaving our homes, and we're not leaving our people here. We love this town. We love this community. We love Western North Carolina and everywhere that's been affected. And we really want to band together and make this rebuild mission happen.
And Evangeline, you mentioned the warm tents, you mentioned the machinery. What is most needed right now?
Most needed, I would say, would be the most crucial is to get to the people that are still up there stranded and get to the people that are struggling to survive. And life is first and foremost, the people, keeping people warm, getting them everything that they need and getting access to those places. That to me is priority, is saving the lives that have made it this far already and are still waiting for help, finding those people.
Absolutely.
22 days later, this was posted yesterday, so it's 23 days later, and there are still people that are struggling and, haven't had any visit by anybody up in the mountains. We have the most fabulous military, and they can't get to them. Okay. You cannot count what we are seeing of the recent weeks. What we are seeing is, and it's not just North Carolina, but it's also Florida. It's also Roswell. You cannot count on government. You have to count on your community. Unfortunately, a lot of communities are not quite like what we are seeing up in the mountains of Western North Carolina. Well, that means that communities need to somehow quickly pull together all over the country. And again, I'm going to say powers of example. Powers of example. You see all of these people, they're building back roads, they're building back bridges, and, they're doing their best to meet the individual needs of all of those who have been so destroyed. It's the people, not government officials. And I haven't seen much state officials doing much as well. Anybody else? Are the state officials, the government of North Carolina officials, are they out there? Well, she just said that the Department of Transportation in North Carolina wasn't going to do anything about the roads. So the people came together. And residents still working to rebuild in Rutherford County.
Weeks ago, when Helene came through and there was flooding, this area was completely cut off. We're talking no cell reception, no power. They couldn't get down to Chimney Rock. They had no idea what the rest of the state was doing. But in the middle of all of that, this tiny grill and restaurant right here on Lake Lure turned out to help in a major way and became a hub for the community to see one another, to find out what's going on, and just to get back to a little bit of normalcy. Take a look.
The really neat thing was when we got here, we found out that our girls had come. That's one of the most moving things. They knew what to do.
It's an act of compassion that gets Lured Market and Grill owner Paul Brock emotional.
They had come down here and started serving people already and taking care of folks.
When Helene hit, he and his wife in Batcave were trapped like so many others for days. But seeing the devastation to their home, his employees, mainly Becky Camp and Erica Stafford, knew two things. They wanted to help, and they had a freezer at the market and grill full of food. So that weekend, they started cooking.
She's like, what if nobody shows up? And then a day went by, and then like the next day, it was like bigger than we imagined ourselves. It was like, wow, like everybody was here.
Camp and Stafford started feeding the community free of charge. And now, almost 4 weeks later, thanks to donations and volunteers, lunchtime here at Lured is on the house for construction workers, the State Highway Patrol, and those who need it.
What we've been doing is just trying to do what we can to keep our sense of community, and we've had that.
What they've given, they've gotten back tenfold in support with donations.
When we needed generators, we got generators. When we needed Starlinks, we got Starlinks. When we got more water than we know what to do with.
The donations help heal the hurt, but make no mistake, the scars of Helene are deep and painful. Just across from the grill, a thick layer of silt still coats much of the ground, while the debris in the lake serves as a constant reminder of what was washed away.
This is a beautiful place. It's been changed, but we also are working to get it back. They're rerouting the river back to where it was. They're building the roads that have been washed out and the bridges, but we've got a long way to go on all this.
The fear now, as Helene fades from headlines and the temperatures drop, is that the donations will dry up too, something they're already seeing signs of.
We had a couple stop by, and they live here in Lake Lure, and they still have no power, they have no water, and they were looking for a small propane tank, and we didn't have one to give them, because right now that's our only source of heat.
That's why those in Lake Lure are hoping people won't forget about them in the months to come and that the tourism will return. But in the meantime, the community will keep working. And they have no doubt, thanks to those like Lured Market and Grill, that they'll be back and better than ever.
And they will be better than ever, because all of this, everything that they're doing with one another, is building stronger relationships. Yeah. Bonding. Unfortunately over crisis, but bonding.
The way to win a war is to feed those troops, and they're feeding us. Everybody's just worked so good together. We've all just come together and we've made it happen. I mean, we're getting it cleaned up. We're going to be all right.
I love seeing this, I hate that so many people are in need, but I really, and yeah, I do tend to focus on what needs to be seen and what needs to be learned from. Government's not there for you. We're hearing this over and over and over again.
All right, so I woke up feeling really good. We had gotten some messages from people that were positive, saying that they had gotten some FEMA support, some small business support. And then I just got hit with one of the hardest stories I've heard so far, and it's from someone that I care so much about. Megan and Todd, they own Atomic Furnishings, which is this really famous furniture store with dozens of different vendors, maybe hundreds of different vendors. They were in my Joanna Gaines show, my Magnolia show 2 years ago. They're just wonderful.
So nice.
Half of our furnishing pieces are from them. Todd made our dining room table.
Yes.
Just incredible humans. Atomic is gone.
They were on the Swananoa River, and their store is completely washed away, and everything in it.
Their house, Burnsville. Their car, I think she said, was on top of a Lowe's at this point. Like, I don't know if I've heard a story that is worse than theirs. And they got rejected from FEMA for even the $750 check. They got rejected from car insurance, from home insurance, from business insurance, rejected. So they have hundreds of thousands of dollars of merchandise, most of which Megan and Todd made themselves.
Correct.
And it's gone.
And they tried to apply for flood insurance before this and got rejected and rejected and rejected. Showed all that paperwork to FEMA. FEMA said, "Whoops, sorry, nothing we can do for you."
I'm so grateful to the people that have these wonderful FEMA stories. I've heard them personally, so I know they're accurate, but that is not the case for everyone. And I don't know how to help Megan and Todd. The only thing that has helped so far, they have a GoFundMe. So that means regular people have helped them more than all of the people that are supposed to help them.
More than any government agency.
Government agencies, insurance, landlord, anything, no help.
No, just regular people helping them out. And they're in a really rough spot. I mean, their business is the assets that they made by hand themselves. And they
other
are all
people.
gone.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I can't count how many artisans sell at Atomic. All of those people are out of work.
That's right.
Their employees are out of work. Like, you want to know why we're getting so upset? It isn't for likes. It isn't to get messages from the news. It is that these people are reaching out to us.
Because they have no idea what to do. You know, they went through the FEMA process, got rejected, SBA got rejected. They're just looking for anything. I mean, you listen to the local radio. I said this last time. People are just calling in frantic. Like, I've lost everything. I don't know how to get FEMA assistance. You know, don't take my word for it. Go to 99.9 Kiss Country and just listen to the people calling in. It is absolutely insane.
And the number one consensus, because everybody's story is different, the number one consensus is confusion.
Mass confusion.
Megan said she runs one of the biggest small businesses in Asheville, and she still had a hard time filling out those forms online. She is a very competent, very smart woman, and she had a hard time filling that stuff out and still got rejected. I just cannot imagine how we got a check for $750.
No idea.
And she lost everything.
They found a 7-year-old in her backyard of her house. Okay, that's how much flooding occurred at her property. And she did not get anything from the federal government. I mean, I don't even know what to say. Like,
I think people are going so quick to make this political, to blame the current administration or the past administration. You guys, people here, we are not divided like that. We are not arguing about politics anymore. We are just helping each other. And that's all we are asking from the outside world is just don't forget us. Don't forget Megan and Todd. Don't forget the people that have decided we're going to stay, we're going to dig our heels in, and we're going to bring the city back. We need you to do that with us. I get that this is like 2 weeks away from an election, but like we don't care. We don't want to talk about that.
And it might be very far removed from anyone watching, but it's right next to us. Like it's right down the road.
These are our friends. This is like family members. These are neighbors. I heard of one story from a friend that found her neighbors, found them. Like this is, you know, I think people keep saying this is so much worse. This is so much like Megan and Todd said when they showed all the videos of Atomic, it was completely destroyed. They showed the videos of Atomic and people said, how can we help come and like sort through everything?
Nothing.
There's nothing. Like the videos are not doing it justice. There is nothing.
Confusion. They make it very difficult to fill out the forms online, especially. And, you know, then when you think of they got the 750, but their friends who lost everything got rejected, how does that work? Okay, I think a lot of that is deliberate. You know, they want to cause the confusion. And I think they just randomly, you know, just, okay, you get the 750, but most people don't. So, yeah, we have to stop the divide and conquer, come together and just build community, help one another, because this is really, it's overwhelming now. And I'm just talking about this country, people who need help. Then when you think about, well, Western countries, oh my God. All right, so it's not good. I've had enough Florida homeowners selling flooded homes as is to investors, because that's all they can do.
Well, Tampa Bay homeowners impacted by hurricanes and flooding are now saying enough is enough and selling their homes as is, especially those in flood-prone neighborhoods like Shore Acres and St. Pete.
And if you look online at Zillow or Redfin, you'll find dozens of damaged homes now for sale. New tonight, ABC Action News anchor Nadine Yanis with why homeowners are now just walking away. Finding
out. Motif, whatever, however you pronounce that, I'd appreciate you stop with the comments, maybe think about the comments that you're leaving right now, okay? All you see are people trying to take an opportunity to get their followers up. Are you kidding me? Or are you just one of those who comes in and leaves shitty comments to get people upset? Because if that's what you are, I don't want you here.
a house anywhere in the Tampa Bay area at $300,000 these days sounds too good to be true, but if you come to Shore Acres, you will find several houses listed for that price, some even lower, as they are damaged homes now at a discounted rate. Homeowners trying to just get out. This homeowner here telling me she's flooded out 3 times and she simply doesn't have the strength to rebuild again.
I mean, we have chemicals and everything else from gutting everything out.
Ellie Levinville's 4-bedroom, 2-bath Shore Acres home is down to the studs again.
Unfortunately, this is the 3rd flood in 2 years. I can't live in this flood zone where you're constantly having to move out for 6 or 7 months.
She bought it 3 years ago at $575,000, now listed at $425,000, as is for investors after Hurricane Helene.
I'm going to lose a lot, but I've gained a lot of friends and I've had great experiences here other than the flood. So I just have to cut my losses and move on.
It's one of dozens of homes that just hit the market in the last week or so. Listings showing those flooded homes with words like as is, cash only, and for investors, as homeowners are trying to simply move on.
So this is like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath.
Realtor Ross Fangfish is selling for a husband and wife team who just flipped this Shore Acres home themselves. They put it on the market after renovating it 60 days ago at $460,000.
When we purchased this property, we were thinking, okay, well, what's the future hold? You don't think to yourself, there's going to be 4 foot of water or 3 foot of water or whatever.
Now,
I just dropped it down to $299. You'll see the listings that are pending at, $300,000 or $250,000 were originally at, $450,000 or $500,000. So you have to just kind of roll with the punches.
But he says interest is there. In fact, investors are calling and already scooping up these homes.
Yeah, lots of pending. I was actually surprised to see that.
It's a matter of now making the most for those homeowners who lost it all.
Because at the end of the day, you're right. You're going to sell the house, and maybe including with the insurance money, they're going to do okay. Like they can walk away maybe just unscarred and move on with life. That's possible.
In Shore Acres, I'm ABC Action News anchor Nadine Yana.
Look at the amount of people who have been affected and still living this as I speak. And yeah, once you get flooded over and over and over again, you just, you're going to absolutely take a loss, right? Especially if you sell to FEMA. And it's such heartbreak, especially for people who have lived in these places for so long. It's their community, it's what's familiar, and having to move on today, I sure do hope that they have enough resources, to move to something where they can, find some peace or something, but a whole lot of people can't. All right. Government red tagging your home. Government telling you that you can't inhabit your home anymore. I think we need to stop listening to government.
My name's PJ Bennett. My husband and I, Curtis, live here in Relief, North Carolina. And we've lived here in this home for about 20 years now. Thank God he left on Thursday, the weekend of the flood. It was my birthday that weekend, and he was surprising me. Had he not, he would have been here, and I don't know what he would have done. The floodwaters reached near our second floor. We have the line of demarcation is on our stairwell midway up. We lost pretty much everything on our first floor. Our floors are buckled and the walls are destroyed, and so they've redlined our house. It's uninhabitable. It took away our outbuildings. It took away our camper. Back in, I believe it was around 2008, there was a hurricane that hit the coast and we saw a lot of rain. At that time, that scared me so bad that we reached out to our insurance to try to get flood insurance, because I thought I'd never seen anything like that. That in itself scared me. But we were told that we weren't in a floodplain and that we didn't qualify or need flood insurance. And so now we're stuck with no insurance. Our insurance is only paying us $400 for the lost food that we had in our freezer. And that's the extent of the payout that we're going to get.
You see what's happening? Okay, I'm going to read just the tweet, but I will post the link to North Carolina's government Build Back Better. Now, I don't know. What do you think people would do if they actually knew that all of this was deliberate, intentional, using weather as a weapon, and then buying out buying you out through the strategic buyout program. And this is what FEMA has been doing for decades. Properties purchased by the strategic buyout program will be demolished, cleared, and permanently maintained as green space by the local government. So FEMA pays 75% of the buyout. North Carolina will pay 25%, raise all structures, green space. It's to move people along. It's to move them along. So they're buying out properties in Western North Carolina. Now can't even make this. Yes, this has been going on for decades all over with all of the flooding that they have been purposefully targeting areas. So a buyout is not a rebuild of your home or property. They want you to move into less flood-prone areas. They want you moving into areas that will be the 15-minute city so that they can have 24/7 surveillance over you. So I guess it's a hard thing for a whole lot of people to believe, but it's true, and it's happening. The strategic buyout program offers eligible property owners located in flood-prone areas the chance to sell their home and relocate to a safer area. It's worked with local governments to identify areas with the greatest risk of damage from future hurricanes and floods. These areas are known as disaster risk reduction areas or buyout zones. You must own property in one of these areas to be eligible for the buyout program. Strategic. It's strategic. Yeah. And then they flood people out. They flood them out repeatedly. No person, no individual is going to buy a home that has been flooded repeatedly, especially when they listen to, mainstream media telling them, oh my God, it's going to get worse. It's climate change. So they sell it to FEMA. Pennies on a friggin' dollar. For most Americans, their home and their property is their only valuable asset. Stop work orders issued for Tampa Bay area residents during hurricane recovery. Government telling you to stop repairing your homes. Well, this guy says, no, I'm not doing it.
By storm damage are losing patience, trying to get repairs done as quickly as possible. Now code enforcement is threatening stop work orders to make sure savings continue for policyholders with federal flood insurance. 10 Tampa Bay's Chris Harris talked to one homeowner in St. Pete Beach. Chris, he says he got a verbal stop work order today, but says he's not going to stop.
Yeah, Dave, Brian Leggett moved into his dream retirement home here in St. Pete Beach 4 days before Hurricane Helene. He says the government shouldn't get to tell him how he can repair his private property.
Yes, he's right.
I never imagined that I could not start repairing my own home.
This is the next phase of hurricane frustration.
I'm simply wanting to put back what I bought a week before the hurricane hit, because the house was in perfect shape. It was beautiful.
Brian Leggett's first floor flooded during Helene. A new resident with a contracting company in Georgia, he thought he could bring workers down to paint, hang drywall, and replace floors. Until a few days ago.
That's when I started getting harassed by code enforcement, and they call them construction investigative officers.
Cities and counties are out enforcing federal and local laws requiring proper licenses, permits, and appraisals for all flooding and storm repairs.
The FEMA rule is national, federal guidelines, but it is implemented into the municipalities' flood ordinances always in a little bit different way.
If your local government bends or breaks those rules to help you repair faster, FEMA could revoke discounts from the National Flood Insurance Program.
Many municipalities in Lee County got in trouble with FEMA because they obviously didn't follow certain rules. So this will not happen in Manatee, Sarasota, Pinellas. Everyone will be super sharp and comply with FEMA rules.
The other regulation stirring emotions right now is the 50% rule, meaning you can't pay more than half the appraised value of your home for restoration work, or else raise up the home or tear it down. Using an appraiser should give you a higher number than the tax-assessed value. As for Leggett, he applied for a permit tonight, but won't stop the work.
So I'm going to submit the application, but I'm not going to stop my guys from working.
And why should he? Why should he? You know, people want to repair their homes as quickly as possible. But FEMA says, no, you can't do that. You got to stop the work, which means that they have to outlay more finances living in a place that is not their home, right? You were a code enforcement officer. Wow. So, people have to stop complying big time. And we need a whole lot of people not complying anymore, because when we have only a few people who don't comply, they get destroyed. Okay, so title of my live tonight: was really, I can't even remember the title. What is the title? Well, it had something to do with, what about those less affected? Where do they come in? Or do they? Do they have a right to say that they too are suffering consequences when they haven't lost loved ones, they haven't lost their home, they might have just suffered, the power outage. Oh, but they own businesses and they have employees, and now nobody's coming into the area. The ripple effects go beyond the main area that gets affected with the flooding, the physical, effects, and a whole lot of people, if they say anything about how they are dealing with the consequences that they're suffering, they get attacked because they're not suffering like a whole lot of other people who've lost their homes, lost loved ones. Okay. But is that right? Is that fair? No, it really isn't. Everybody has a different experience, and those experiences need to be listened to, acknowledged, and not judged. So,
this is the city of Asheville in the Western Mountains of North Carolina. This is the city of Asheville in the Western Mountains of North Carolina.
Carolina victims of Hurricane Helene. In Western North Carolina, we are seeing catastrophic flooding.
Carolina is cleaning up from the worst flooding ever on record for the state.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, I wanted to talk about something that I'm extremely passionate about, and I've received kind of a lot of backlash about ever since kind of maybe a few days after Hurricane Helene. There are some realities about natural disasters that I wasn't aware of. I've never really been a part of one. But since obviously it hit the region of Western North Carolina, which is where I'm from, where I consider my home, where I have friends, business, real estate, everything, you know, there's some things that really came to fruition through this. And honestly, there have been local Western North Carolinians upset at me about this. There have been other people upset at me. There's some people that are like, holy cow, dude, never thought about it. You're 100% right. I want us to critically think. I want us to think multi-perspective, multi-dimensional about things, because here's the deal. There are realities for some people and their realities, and there are realities for other people, and those are also their reality. Like, there are different realities in different perspectives from everybody that is true for each and every individual person. And here's the deal. I want to talk about things that honestly might ruffle some feathers. I want to talk about some political things that I seriously think need to change, news related, media related things that I think 100% need to be talked about and need to change. But first, I want to talk about Helene. What happened? A hurricane came through, really the eye of the storm, absolutely wrecked upstate South Carolina. Really, I mean, dude, from Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, western part of Virginia, eastern part of Tennessee, before it eventually faded. Tons of water dumped. Everything is pretty much like, dude, the water was falling from the sky faster than the rivers were running. Thus, it created severe backups and everything, and towns flooded. And tons of people have lost their lives. Tons of people have lost loved ones. Tons of people have lost their houses. And it's devastating. That is 100% factual. And it hurts my heart to even think about the catastrophe. But the unique thing about Western North Carolina, upstate South Carolina, East Tennessee, North Georgia, western part of Virginia, our little towns revolve around tourism dollars. In fact, when I think about most successful businesses, they are tourism-centric businesses, because people come to the mountains, the Blue Ridge Mountains, the Great Smoky Mountains. They come to the mountain region for vacation, they come for retreat, they come to enjoy the beauty that our mountains have to offer, the small town heritage and culture that is so prevalent, evident, tangible in our towns. But what happened immediately was the news started broadcasting, do not come to Western North Carolina. I was immediately like, man, that's very dangerous, because here's the deal. And listen, I have friends, very close friends, that were detrimentally impacted by this hurricane, that lived in Haywood County, Buncombe County, Polk County, Marion County, all the counties, Henderson County, that are surrounded in Western North Carolina, where my business is, and real estate and everything. I have a lot of friends impacted. And the news immediately started saying, don't come to Western North Carolina. Well, immediately, and listen, a lot of people aren't business owners, so they don't take on this immediate perspective. But almost all of my friends that own businesses own tourism-centric businesses. Here's the deal. Our business may not, and businesses as a whole, may not have been physically impacted by Hurricane Helene. But what was impacted was cash flow, was commerce. What was impacted was commerce, the ability to conduct business, because immediately, and here's the deal, and I'm totally okay with this, the local population that a lot of people serve, my business included, they weren't focused on fishing. Totally understandable. It's totally good. I didn't expect it. In fact, if you followed our journey, my mom and dad have been on the forefront, hands on the forefront, the battle lines of this devastating catastrophe, and helping families, raising money, hands on deck, boots on the ground. My family's been right there. But here's something to think about, because I had a ton of people immediately, obviously running a big social media platform, having a decent sized YouTube channel. People are like, hey man, what can I do to help? And here's the reality of it. Not only were there people physically devastated, houses, loved ones, everything, but there's secondary problems, guys, like businesses. Here's the reality of the situation. I have employees, and those employees have families. So when someone directly reaches out to me personally, says, is there anything I can do to help? I'm like, hey, our business is a very, very great business. It serves so many great locals in the community. But the community obviously is not in a spot to even care about fishing, which no argument against that. I don't want them to be. I want them to focus. I want the whole efforts and focus to be Western North Carolina. But I said, hey, if you want to help me directly, you could support the business, because here's the deal. A lot of people, and I've received a lot of hate and a lot of pushback for this. Can't believe you said that. Can't believe. Hold on. Am I supposed to lay off my employees and now their families don't have income and now they don't know how to make ends meet? You know, I'm responsible for quite a few employees. I'm responsible for families. I'm responsible for children being fed as a business owner. So when people are like, I can't believe you tried to promote your business, it's like, hold on, wait. I was affected too. And really, I was calling on people, because here's the deal, dude. You can go give money to the Red Cross. You can go give money to Samaritan's Purse and all of these other organizations, tons of organizations. And by the way, the help and outpouring from around the country to help Western North Carolina, East Tennessee, Western Virginia, North Georgia, upstate South Carolina has been unbelievable. It's been unbelievable. I have not.
I'm going to put the link in. Everybody's affected. And when you do, and this I've heard from Floridians who own businesses, they didn't get physically affected, but nobody's coming, right? Nobody is coming. So in this economy, don't presume that everybody who owns a business can just sit back, and wait for the community to be all repaired and nice again for tourists to come back. No, they're going to lose a tremendous amount of money because tourists don't come. And that is, that's another effect of these weather events. Yes, you have employees, you have your own family, and nobody's coming. What are you going to do? So he talks about, this is the matrix. Okay, this is the matrix mind. Tell the politicians that we need legislation for insurance for the ripple effects of all of these weather events. Well, you haven't been physically affected, but there are so many people who have lost everything and still they're not getting any help from government. It's not going to come that way. We're not there anymore. In fact, we see every single day less and less are getting what they need and what they've paid for through insurance, flood insurance, FEMA, taxes, and they get nothing. So I do actually want to ask L 2024 if you can get Max's GoFundMe link. I sure would appreciate it. If people could stop talking about Lizzo for a little bit. Thank you, Al. So, and here is another woman who I listened to this, and I'll post a link. She has a lot of good, cogent, pertinent things that she says in this video. But she's another one who's been attacked because she hasn't suffered tremendous damage. She, damage, but, well, it's not on, the scale of what people will feel some compassion about. What is that about? So they use all of the people who have been absolutely destroyed, and then won't listen to other people who haven't been that destroyed. Nonetheless, they have suffered damage on their property. What is that about? You know, every individual has an experience, and it's very hard, especially in this economy. And that's what we really need. We need to stop judging people. You know, your experience is not everybody's experience. That's a very narcissistic view to have. And it ends up hurting people when you think that, because you can't respond appropriately. First of all, you can't respond appropriately to anyone that you're judging. But if you think that your experience is their experience, and that's the filter that you're listening to them, well, you're not really listening to them. You're listening to your own self, your experience, and then the judgment comes, and yeah, it doesn't help at all. So when I listen to people like this, you know, I'm reminded of when I went homeless and then people attacked me because I had a car. Okay, well, that's what you get. Social media, right? But that is the reality of a whole lot of Americans. They judge because they don't listen to what the person is really going through, right? Because they don't want to. It's easier to judge than it is to actually listen and support and provide support for the person. Americans very often take the easy way out. They blame the person, they judge the person. So the ripple effects are very real, you know, and I've mentioned before that mainstream media will always focus on that one area that has the most destruction. You know, perhaps it's they think they're going to get the most views. But I've said for years, you know, when you see this, and it was a big learning experience for me going out to Louisiana, Baton Rouge during the flood of, when was it? God, I can't even remember. I think 2017. And having spent so much time, you know, including and posting videos on all of these weather events, I wanted to see for myself. I wanted to see for myself. So I drove out from South Carolina to Louisiana, Baton Rouge, and I was really like taken back because I thought it was at Baton Rouge. Not all of the areas around Baton Rouge, that's all you heard on mainstream media. Baton Rouge, Baton Rouge, Baton Rouge. So I got off at Denham Springs, off the interstate, because there was a pilot and I wanted to see if that was a decent place for me to stay in my car. And I'll never forget, I can see, you know, my mind's eye, I can still see me driving off the interstate and coming down to a stoplight that wasn't working. And I didn't even know what I was looking at. I saw all of these businesses that had all of their inventory out on the sidewalk. But I wasn't in Baton Rouge yet, Baton Rouge proper. I couldn't find the pilot until it kind of came. The pilot sign had been cracked and half of it off. There were no lights anywhere. And I started driving just down blocks, and everybody had their property, all of their belongings out on the sidewalk. It doesn't just happen like in the Appalachian Mountains. There are other people who are suffering badly. So I'm just going to play a few minutes of Heavenly Minded Home. And yeah, everybody has their experience, and that's valid for everyone and shouldn't be dismissed because, well, your experience isn't as bad as, no.
It's been 21 days since Hurricane Helene came and just barreled through western North Carolina, thoroughly destroying so much of the Appalachian Mountains out here. And everybody
It drives me nuts, these commercials. Okay.
is still reeling from everything that has happened. And I know that there's been some coverage and some people talking about it, but there are a few key elements that people just don't understand. And I think this needs to be said. I think people need to know the truth behind what things look like 21 days out. I'm so thankful that we have this opportunity here. Our family's been sharing on YouTube for almost 7 years now, and it's always been our goal to encourage and just uplift other families and Christian women specifically, and all the studies and things that we do, and talking about all the homey things and what it means to build up our homes and to live the life that God has called us to. And going here, we are just outside of Asheville. We're slightly east of Asheville. We've lived in North Carolina for, nearly 20 years after growing up in Southern California. And to us, this is home. This is where it's all at. It's where our kids have been born and raised, and just what matters so much to us is this land out here, the people, the communities. And going through this here with Hurricane Helene has just been so surreal. And I know, we've been sharing about it and what's going on and what it means in the bigger picture of everything for our family and for our lives. But I'm noticing a lot, as we've kind of gotten power back, internet kind of comes and goes. We're kind of trying to work through the aftermath of all of this and dealing with all of the destruction and everything that's going on. There's a few key pieces that I keep seeing in the bits of news coverage we have seen, and the comments I get from people, and just conversations and things being had. There's a few key elements that nobody's really talking about outside of kind of those of us here living this. And even those of us who are here living it, it's the process of trying to go through all of this that's really, really difficult. And we don't really know the right words to say sometimes. And so I wanted to just kind of chat through this with you all here today and share kind of some of the firsthand footage we're seeing all around us as we try to recover, 3 weeks into this ordeal. And honestly, most days it doesn't feel like we've even made any forward momentum. What really kind of stood out to me is it amazes me to see. I'm going to pull out one comment in particular, but I'm seeing a lot of this going around. And some amazingly kind and loving individual left me the comment that said, "Surviving Helene was easy to do if you weren't in the areas hit. Your property is intact. You didn't have to be rescued. So what did you survive? A power outage?" Sure, buddy, a power outage. Let's talk about some pieces that nobody understands. Just because you have a home doesn't mean nothing happened. Our home is indeed still standing. Some of us out here, our homes are still standing. And trust me, we understand what a blessing that is, considering many of our neighbors, our friends, our loved ones literally barely fled out of their homes as they were swallowed up by rivers and taken out by landslides. Nothing that anyone could prepare for, nothing that anyone could foresee happening. Trust me when I say those of us who still actually have a home standing, we understand the importance of that. We feel the weight of that when we know those closest to us didn't all get that same opportunity. Just because our home is still standing doesn't mean that there's not a lot of damage done. Now, I don't personally know what this person deems to be property intact or not. My barn is destroyed. My animals have nowhere to go. I have trees coming down all over my property. My driveway no longer exists. And we are constantly still 3 weeks out clearing trees, moving fences, and dealing with all kinds of things out and about on the property due to the damage sustained, let alone the massive drop in temperature and the high winds we've had with Hurricane Nadine that just came through this week as well. So I'm not sure what counts as property intact. I don't feel like my property is intact, considering I have a world of issues on my plate I'm currently dealing with. But for those of us who aren't sure, maybe this area, right? You don't know. Different parts of our country, we can do different things. Our basement filled with water due to all of the flooding. Yes, we had just a power outage for a week, but that meant for a week we couldn't thoroughly dry anything. We pushed out water, we did many things, but we couldn't actually dry stuff out. Many of us out here had trees fall on our home. We had roofs, damaged. We had windows broken. We had a lot of moisture that made its way into our homes. We already live somewhere where there is a lot of water. We live in the South. That's why everything's so green. We do have a lot of water. We have a lot of humidity. So even for those of us that maybe didn't have our homes completely washed away, there was so much moisture, so much water that came in, be it through, like us, a flooded basement. Good friends of ours, many friends have had trees come through their roofs or just windows bashed out with falling debris. Your home fills with moisture and water. You can't do anything about it to thoroughly get it dried out, right? You can't run dehumidifiers. You can push out as much as you can, but you really can't run what you need to. Here in the summer, you keep an air conditioner going all throughout the summer, regardless of how hot it is, just to help pull the moisture out of the air so things don't start mildewing. So those of us that still have homes intact, we're dealing with a lot of mold. We're dealing with ruined appliances. Our family lost nearly all of our clothing.
Okay. Again, I do think that it's important for people to listen to people who have, suffered these events, because you can learn a lot. And, I have people in this chat who have experienced these events, and they're not fun, and it consumes your life for a long time, and you struggle. And to Max, I want to say, this woman talks about the guilt. She talks about the guilt that she has because she still has, her family and a home. And then she thinks about all of the people within her community who have lost everything. That's also a very real experience. But Max, when you say that you're not even sure, where is it? I feel terrible to ask, but how much more do I have to endure with so many who have lost so much more? I almost feel guilty for questioning why I'm struggling. You shouldn't feel guilty. this is your experience, and it's a big experience. It's a, considering that you also have cancer, it's not like things were easy before, and now it's like you've got loss, you've got damage, you need help, and it's just piled on to what you were already experiencing. So while I do understand, people who say, well, some people say it horribly, like, you really need to work on your gratitude. That's a horrible thing to say. But yes, for some, it could have been so much worse. But it doesn't mean that for all of those who are not dealing with the loss of the complete home, loss of loved ones, it doesn't mean that they're not hurting and they're not struggling. But I also, I have a tendency to try to think of all things, that people are going through. And when you think, I've heard so many people in North Carolina talk about having cancer and now having to deal with this. How many people are suffering from chronic illness, disabilities, who have actually survived, but now need to deal with this? And yesterday, I posted 2 videos, 2 different areas where the elderly are in desperate need of help. They don't have the physical capacity to clean out all of the mud from their home and throw out everything from their home. And we shouldn't have any elderly in that condition. We wouldn't if we had community where people were caring for their elderly and they'd be on it, right? That's where the good soldiers come in, right? So, Al, oh God. All right, so where Max was staying comes to an end, I guess, tomorrow. And yes, I also want to say to all Christians who claim that, well, if you had Jesus, you wouldn't be scared. I have to say that those are the people who are comfortable, who haven't experienced catastrophic loss, especially today with our economy. Men, women, it doesn't matter. When you're facing that holy shit has hit the fan for me, not the collective shit hits the fan, it's very scary. When you don't have anywhere to turn, it's very scary. So, yeah, feel your feelings and don't feel bad about feeling those feelings because that only makes it worse. And It's very okay to be scared. And frankly, there is a lot of reason to be scared for an awful lot of people. You think the elderly who are Christian, who are looking at being tossed out on the street, are not scared? Good day, Bluesman. So what I would like is for the GoFundMe to be put in the chat again, and I want to bring up the GoFundMe. And if anybody can help Max out, that would be, no doubt, greatly appreciated by Max. But she too talks about getting attacked. You know, her experience, I guess, well, it's just not that bad, so shut up. Shut up. You don't get to talk about your experience. The ordinary people need to really think about what they're doing, because they'll bitch and complain and be very angry at all of the censorship that's going on by government, and they don't even realize how they censor people with their judgments. That's why an awful lot of Americans are afraid to be real and to talk about how they feel. Okay, so, but I can't, see, with the other program that I was using, I could click on a link while doing the live and get to where I wanted to get to, but I can't cut and paste. So here is the GoFundMe for Max. And I can't go through all of my history to get it, but it will be underneath the video once I post it. There are a lot of people who need help. And, you know, there have been a whole lot of people who have needed help throughout the years. And get judged. You know, well, they've done something wrong. They're just not positive enough. They don't have Jesus. Enough. So, and we're looking at so many people now. You know, the need is just overwhelming. And also, I just want to say that a whole lot of Americans have a very different experience than a whole lot all over the world. Because of the wealth and because of the self-centeredness that allowed us to just live our privileged lives, and I don't say that word in a woke sense, we have. Most Americans on the whole, we have been a privileged people. Not everybody. But my life, 65 years being an American, has been extraordinarily hard. I've had a few decent years, but it's been very challenging because of my start, my trajectory, and everything that I had to overcome. But I look back and there was opportunity and I could choose which road I wanted to go down if I busted my tuchus. And that's exactly what I did. Okay, so I was taken out, stroke, medication put on the market as safe, not safe at all. But those times, that time is gone. It's gone now. And a whole lot of Americans are coming to face the fact that, okay, I'm not so comfortable anymore. I don't have the luxury of pursuing happiness, endlessly 24/7. Things have become very, very, very difficult. But understanding that, yeah, in some sense, you can say that we were spoiled and we've been spoiled adult children. Okay. But that's been our life experience. And the hardship that suddenly people are experiencing, juxtapose those experiences, they bring a lot of pain, and a whole lot of that also has to be acknowledged. And not just, well, you had it easy for this, period of time, and too bad for you. Now it's hard. Now you're living like, most people in the world. That doesn't help. It doesn't help. You're heading to Asheville next week to help clean up. I'm sure I'm going to butcher the name that you have, but Han or Gan. Thank you. Good. Fabulous. So we really do need to, and this is a lifelong thing we need to be doing, is checking ourselves, facing ourselves in the mirror, and are we saying things like, if I were in that situation, and unfortunately, it's very hard to put yourself in a situation that you've never, ever experienced, but you can get close. And what I would say to people, if I were in their situation, is hearing what I'm saying to them, would that bring me some solace? So, yeah, it's, and I don't know, is it because I've lost everything? And now, after years of just, having to be literally in desperation mode, you're desperate to get back to the life that you had, and you can't get there, and you keep trying, and it doesn't work. Well, that I think I hope it's going to be a different experience for an awful lot of people. Is that why, I'm listening to all of these experiences and I get it? Can we not understand somebody's experience just because we haven't had a similar experience? I've heard a lot of people say that, and I don't. Care and compassion come, genuine care and compassion come after doing work, that work of facing ourselves in the mirror, self-reflection, self-examination. So I think, and it certainly was true for me, that the more work I did on myself, the more experiences I've had of, okay, I get the difference between genuine compassion and bullshit compassion, genuine care and bullshit care. So, yeah, you walk around, you say you care, but you don't, and it is proven by how you operate in the world. So, unfortunately, that takes a lot of time. That work, it takes a lot of time. And boy, we've run out of time. So, I just hope that God, I would love to see the world with people who don't judge one another and just be the kind of person who says, how can I help? What can I do? And there's a lot. I've come across the chaos and panic that happened in my town. Okay, she also suffered damage, but it wasn't the kind of destruction that thousands have experienced. And I'll post the link. She also talks about what I call the ripple effects. So there's an awful lot of people who still have homes and they got their power back and they're looking to fill up their refrigerators or looking to shore up their barns or the fences, and nothing is available. The shelves are pretty much empty. And another one. So when you think about the impact that these weather events are having on whole regions, I think it's easier to just kind of focus in on one area and it's just these people and, oh, what a shame, right? A whole lot of people. It's not just, the people in Chimney Rock and Burnsville and a whole lot of other places. Stretch it out. And then we have this. Yeah. Okay. That green energy that does not seem to be working. And it seems to be actually creating an awful lot of damage itself.
It is October 23rd, 2024, and it's several months now after the GE Vernova blade incident occurred July 13th off the shore of Nantucket Island. Apparently today, we learned in the media that GE Vernova will be removing blades from the Vineyard Wind turbines. There is now 24. There are 71 blades out there ticking time bombs because now they are afraid of wind and the disaster they feel will ensue when our winter winds start picking up. This Vineyard Wind was always permitted as an experiment. They didn't know what these untested components would do in our waters, in the environment. It was not based on any scientific studies. Since the disaster, we've had no water quality tests, nor assessment on our marine life. And unfortunately, we've had large 60 tons of debris absorbed into Nantucket waters into our food chain. Our whales, marine mammals have all taken this on the chin with a rapid uptick in deaths for this project. This was always a stupid project. Yes, hooray, they're taking them down. They have to take all the components down and barge them back to Europe.
Oh my God. All right, so Nantucket. This is my experience. I'm on my 14th year of doing this and doing it virtually every day and reading the comments underneath the videos of my several channels. If it's police, there's an awful lot of people who do not care because it's a police officer. There's an awful lot of people who, listening to her, she's in Nantucket, people would presume that she is wealthy, and who gives a shit? That I don't understand. That I don't understand. It's not the fault, and I'm not talking about the billionaires, right? First of all, presumption, right? There's an awful lot of people who, if I said the Hamptons, Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, people would presume that they have money. There's an awful lot of people on those islands that don't, okay? And regardless, everybody has a right to speak their experience and not get shut up by those who just don't want to hear it or judged by those. Well, if people get jealous, they have to work on their jealousy. Jealousy I fortunately, not to say that I've never been jealous throughout my life, but I don't have that as like a big issue. But I've known people where their jealousy becomes a real violence against those who they're jealous of. That's a big, big issue that people need. It's their own issue. That's something that they need to work on and resolve. Yeah. So, I just say, okay, jealous. That's not an excuse. It's a way to understand somebody, but it doesn't work as an excuse. I just can't stand how many people are really friggin' hurting now. And it's, I think the more we see of people suffering these consequences, those who can help and have helped in whatever way they can get so overwhelmed that they just want to back away from it and not even look. That's not going to be good. That's not going to be good. So, it's 7:05. So I'm going to turn to where is, okay. Everything is connected. Everything is intersected. Okay, so all of the migrants coming in are still getting free housing, free food, free education, free medical care, Social Security, while we watch Americans, residents, so yeah, okay, who get absolutely destroyed, no help from their government. So that is becoming louder and louder and more obvious and more obvious. So when we don't see a real big outcry from Americans demanding all that stop, of course, it's not going to stop immediately, but when we don't hear that loud outcry, Americans themselves betray one another. We're all part of this fabulous dance that we've got going called life. We are all part of it. And when we don't even do anything to protect our own, and forget about government, because that we see, it is just not going to happen unless Americans unite and take back their power, right? But we know that a whole lot of that's just not going to be happening. We have so many migrants coming across the border now. So many. And I mean, how do you deal with the juxtaposition of all of these people coming across the border, not citizens, and getting everything, while Americans, elderly, get nothing? So it is so hard to reconcile because it is so friggin' obvious. And I'm going to play this, but I might play it again tomorrow. But listen to Michael Yon, who has been going down to Panama, Darien Gap, very knowledgeable about what is taking place, especially with the migrants. Ireland. I heard this, and it's the first time that I thought that could be a possibility. Absolutely. You got an awful lot of Irish who are fighting the influx, the invasion of an awful lot of the illegal migrants into Ireland. More and more are coming. Ireland has under 6 million. That's the population. Small country. And they've got an awful lot of migrants. So
kayfabe. The bottom line is,
I apologize.
We're still being invaded. The United States is the one doing it, right? And the UN is obviously doing it. And these are, globalists that work in conjunction with each other. And it's happening all over the world. It's happening, of course. I think Ireland, by the way, I think that they're going to be genocided. That's my guess. In other words, a combination of Irish are going to leave and another combination are just going to be killed or subjugated. Clearly, conditions are being set for genocide at this point in Ireland.
Wow.
Those bases that, go ahead, sir.
No. Continue that thought, and then I got a question for you.
These bases that they're building in Ireland, asked somebody a few months ago to make a map of the camps. He made a very detailed map, and because the first thing you want to do is map out what's going on, because the map often tells you the story, actually, right? So you should always map first. And so he made a detailed map of where all the camps are there in and around Dublin and the Republic of Ireland, right? And you can see where these invader camps are like next to the airport, next to the port, next to the major roads. They're clearly in positions they're in and around Dublin and around Republic of Ireland to actually control the population. That's obvious. And they're also putting in T barriers, those concrete Jersey barriers, that the only place I've ever seen those, and Matt Bracken has noticed the same thing. Matt Bracken and I watch this daily as well together, along with some Irish sources, is the only place we've seen those is in the wars, right? The only place I've seen those concrete T barriers is like Iraq, Afghanistan, that sort of thing. And that's what they're using in many of these camps. Those camps are just like the camps that we see in Texas, and they're very similar to the ones that I've seen in Iraq and Afghanistan. I mean, this is military, right? These people that are coming in, they're not there for jobs. They're there to take Ireland. And the Irish people who are there's only about 3 million Irish. And they are the indigenous people, by the way. They didn't come and replace a bunch of Indians or something. The Irish are the indigenous people. But now it's believed that there's about 2 million invaders against 3 million Irish. Now, keep in mind, those 3 million Irish include elderly people, women and children, and men that are unable to stand up and fight. So most of the aliens who are there, I've gone over to Ireland and looked at this. I can't audit the 2 million number, but when you're there, it looks like it could be, it passes the sniff test. Let's put it that way. And they're mostly military age males, right? So I would say at this point that the military age males of the invaders now are at least roughly on parity with the Irish, if not even outnumber them at this point. And they're the invaders are the ones that are supported by the Irish government, the UN, and others, right? So, Ireland is set for genocide right now.
Hard to imagine. I don't think for us, because we know this is what is taking place. There's not 3 million. There is 5,700,000 or something. Doesn't matter. There's an awful lot of migrants. And when you understand that they have the camps, they've got the camps. Here's one in Athlone. So when you think of all of those who are getting the free housing in Ireland, and then they have these camps for the migrants, well, you would hope that it might beg questions. But they are absolutely what's happening in the smaller Western countries. England, though the population is much greater, I think it's 67 million, but it's a small landmass. And when you think about this, and you see how many videos are being posted with these migrants who are attacking those who are actually citizens of that country, but also the massive numbers of Muslims in the UK, in Britain, and they literally just come out on the street. They pray on the street. Everybody has to, if you're driving, too bad. They literally take over the streets. you know something is very wrong. So these people are not coming into our countries to assimilate to our ways. They're coming into our countries to disrupt, to cause violence. But all of the military-aged men, yeah, in the camps. Here's another place that, where was it? Where is it? Here, another Kildare, Ireland, the camps. Okay, so yeah, not good, huh? Afghan migrants confronted by an Irish woman asking the migrants why they left their women and children behind if they were escaping a war in Afghanistan to come to Ireland.
From Afghanistan. Afghanistan. Yeah. Oh. We bought a lot of this.
And why is it only your men that has come and no families with you?
Because it's so difficult to bring a family with that's why we all came here. So
well, you would, if you were fleeing a war, would you bring your family with you? And whatever possessions you have?
With the women and children, it's so difficult.
Well, why would you flee war for your safety if your safety is in danger?
Sorry, sorry, I told you we did not have a time. So
did I write a hard question?
Well, why? Yeah. We're fleeing a war in Afghanistan. But you left the women and children behind. And your families, your wife, whatever. Because it's so difficult for women and children. So you left them in their war-torn country while you get to experience, a little bit of peace in a Western country in Ireland. And then he just doesn't want to. He does not want to be confronted, and he just walks off. And between the migrants and your government, you're either going to be locked up, killed off. The hate crime bill passed without certain aspects relating to hate speech. It's now illegal to misgender someone in Ireland. In Ireland. That Catholic nation. Okay. It's mass immigration from Africa is destroying social harmony in Ireland. You cannot bring in thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people from almost opposite cultures and expect harmony.
Mama.
Oh yeah. Wow. Ja, leave him. Leave him. Say it to me, guy. You got loose. Say it to me, guy. Say it to me, guy. Say it to me, guy. You got broken.
I have to. He's falling asleep. His leg is open.
That's what you are.
Anyone look at that and think it's good that they're enhancing Ireland? You don't have to be from Ireland to recognize that, wow, their government really is destroying the Irish people. Well, let me just leave you with this, because I have so much more, but it's coming to an end. 5 times August. He's got a YouTube channel, 5 times August. If you don't know 5 times August, put it in the YouTube search bar. I recommend subscribing. Great musician, great lyrics. Here's America.
Oh my heavy times, everybody's angry, living lives, and you broke your woke folk think you're gonna save the day. You've gone out of your damn mind, kids. Nobody cares about what you say. So you scream, oh please look at me, living through an iPhone TikTok dream. Rate me, date me, grate me, pay me, begging for attention. Boo-hoo, you've gone out of your damn mind, kid. Nobody cares about what you do. Wanna play the victim, wanna be the hero, looking like a miserable, confused weirdo. Think you got it figured out for everybody else when you don't even know yourself. All your selfies ain't no revolution, they're slowing down our evolution. I suppose I need to apologize, and if I don't, you'll hope and wish I'd die. Oh cool, another rule made up by a teenage rebel who loves big tech, big farm, big gov, big laws. Gonna talk about it on their new blog. You've gone out of your damn mind, kid. Nobody cares about what you want. So you cry, not true, I'll fact check you. Getting your opinion approved by some desperate, faceless, fameless, brainless intern writer for the fake news. Hey, you're out of your damn mind. Nobody cares about what they say. Think you got a voice, think you got a choice, think you're something special in the corporate white noise. Tweet this, post that, gram this, talk that, swipe left, tap here, to this, not that. You think that they're on your side, they only share what they decide. You're just part of the corruption that's peddling crap for mass consumption. Oh geez, you labeled me, your tolerance is so extreme. Which one do I get to be, a fascist, bigot, or Nazi? You're out of your damn mind, kid. Cause I don't care about what you think. Oh my heavy times, everybody's angry, living lives, and you broke your woke folk think you're gonna save the day. You've gone out of your damn mind, kids. Nobody cares about what you say. You've gone out of your damn mind, kid. Nobody cares about what you say. You've gone out of your damn mind. Nobody cares about what you say.
Yeah. I frankly don't even think that we needed an awful lot of these agendas to destroy this country, because Americans are so great at taking themselves down. Yeah. The enemy within includes Americans themselves. So, unfortunately, a lot of these kids, well, have been fed foods that have their brains, have been given that, sharp thing that have their brains, have been staring at their entire lives that have their brains. But they also had crazy people bringing them up. Massachusetts. Oh boy, do I know this. I know this woman. Now, I don't know her, but I know her because an awful lot of people in Massachusetts, where I lived from 88 to 2012, are just like her. Crazy. But is it really just the younger generation? No.
I want to know how you can go.
We can't answer the door right now, but if you'd like to leave a message, you can do it now.
Shameful.
Are you the one that walks by here and always screaming at people?
No, I haven't walked by recently.
Okay, because a lot of people walk by and scream.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. You are voting for the devil. Don't you know that?
No.
Why are you voting for him?
Because I believe he is the moral candidate.
Oh my God. You for that one.
That's
Moral?
exactly right. That's how your side acts.
Oh my God.
That's
He's
how
the
you
most
guys,
immoral person around.
in your opinion, that's
Oh,
okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. Have a nice day. Have a nice day. God bless you.
I want to know how you.
Yeah, I have to say, typical. It's typical. It's typical. Massachusetts, the blue state. God forbid. So she thinks that Trump is the evil, or he's the devil. You think we're ever going to get anywhere in this country when this woman is probably in her 70s, right? Late 70s, clearly has done no work on herself, can't control herself to just allow somebody to have, well, a different opinion. No, she's got to come up, scream at them, say, fuck you, twice. And we have a lot of control freaks in our country that really need to do some work on themselves. Yeah. Democrat. I will say that I was not that type of Democrat, but Social Network, Massachusetts, Democrat. Oh boy. They really think they're on the good team. So the indoctrination is almost vicious in our country. And, input information that doesn't jive with the indoctrination, they explode. All right. We got to get out there. We have to help one another. I will put Max Maximus's GoFundMe link in right underneath the video when it posts. You know, we have to help one another out. Okay. And Max took on a dog. He had a dog, but he's now taken on another dog from a family that lost their house. So he's got two mouths to feed now. And if we can just extend a little bit of help, all of us, you know, together, we could help a lot of people. Live honestly and speak honestly. Do the work necessary to establish yourself as a trustworthy human being. Yes, I say that at the end of every live because that's the crux of our problem. Lack of trust. Where do you go from there? I feel it every day, and I do not like it. So, yeah, you give your word, you keep your word. Your behavior is, you know, for the most part, consistent with people, and a lot of people in your communities are in need. That's how bad things, the scale of economic destruction for sure has been enormous. So every community, there are people who need help, and you go into the supermarket, you buy food for yourself, think about others, think about buying an extra loaf of bread or a couple of cans of food to drop off at your local food bank, and same animal shelters. Yeah. So on that note, be safe, good night, and good luck. Ciao, guys.